Hey, Pat Rigsby here, and in today's episode, I want to talk about stacking things to win. Let's get to it. So a while back, I read about a concept that I thought was really smart. A gentleman talked about stacking skills or stacking talents and how, maybe you could be above average in one thing and that not be enough to carry you to an incredible career. But if you're above average at two things, that is, you combine those together and all of a sudden you've got this skill stack or talent stack. And that can put you kind of in the top 1% of a lot of respective markets and really, probably build a pretty awesome career around it. And it's something that I think a lot about with business owners. And I'll give you an example of how I think we are applying this in our world. Doug and I in the wealthy gym owner world. There are a lot of people in the market who coach business owners or work with business owners, and they're kind of the hill they're going to die on is, well, I own a gym, so I am the credible expert in helping you succeed in your gym. And on the surface, I mean, it makes some sense, right? Like, I think it would be tough to have never owned a gym or owned a business and understand and empathize with a lot of what gym owners go through. But, it certainly leaves out a whole lot of blind spots, right? Like, number one, to use Doug as an example, recently they're running an advertising campaign in for the three gyms that they have, right? All of which are in Maine. And all of which serve the exact same target market. So you couldn't find more similarity, not just the same region of the country. They're all within like 30 minutes of one another. And for two of those gyms, the advertising campaign that they're running killed it. For the third gym, completely flopped. And if you think about the similarity of that, right? Like everything, you couldn't find businesses to be more in alignment. I mean, franchises don't get that much uniformity because a franchise, there could be a location in New Jersey and another one in Iowa, right? So Doug's is essentially a franchise, but they're all practically in shouting distance of one another. And, the fact that things don't just transfer the way that somebody would like to tell you they might hypothetically is, there's some reality there. And if somebody, hey, if all I've got is a hammer, everything looks like a nail kind of comes to mind, right? Like, okay, if I've done this and this is what I have seen work, then this should work for everybody. If I like this exercise, it should work for everybody. If this advertising campaign worked for me, this should work for everybody, which is, if you step away from it, about as dumb as thinking could be, because we all have differences. We all have different strengths and skills and circumstances and markets and models. So, but there's something to be said for, okay, the benefit to being able to put yourself in somebody's shoes with some degree of accuracy. So there's that side of it. But then on my side, I think one of the greatest strengths and benefits I've had over the last 20 years. And, I've owned about 40 different businesses. I've owned 2 brick and mortar facilities. I've had franchisees up to 275 locations of franchise locations and an additional dozen licensed international locations at its peak. So you get to peek behind a curtain of a lot of businesses there, plus coaching, probably personally coaching more gym owners than anybody in the world in the last 20 years by a multiple of 3, I'd guess. You get a lot of different experiences. You get to aggregate best practices. You get to aggregate bottlenecks. You get to see what works across a broad spectrum of businesses. But admittedly, I don't spend half of my day running a facility in my neighborhood right now, right? Like, so it probably, unless I really police myself, it could be easy to be detached from a little bit of that. So for us, this wonderful stack of, hey, we've got boots on the ground and brick and mortar facilities right now, seeing what's working, putting money into it, testing, doing grand openings, running campaigns, serving clients. And we have the broad-based viewpoint of how to adapt to different circumstances, different markets, different models, different owner goals and strengths. I think that's like this incredible skill or experience stack. On the same side, I think we try to blend installing systems and coaching instead of just saying, hey, here are systems, follow them blindly, or just doing coaching and telling people what to do and leaving it at that. We combine those two things to try to do something that's unique and different and better than everybody else. So how does this apply to you? I wanted to kind of give you some examples of how we're putting this into practice in our business, but how does this apply to you? Well, odds are you are one of the better coaches in your market because, just knowing who pays attention to the emails or the podcasts or any of the work that I'm putting out, odds are you're pretty good at what you do. You're strong at your craft. And the opportunity here is probably to develop as a business owner. You don't have to be the best business owner in your market. You probably don't have to be the strongest gym business owner in your market, but because you're better at coaching, because you're better at client experience, because you're better at service delivery, if you get to at least a B level as a business owner, that skill stack is going to springboard you ahead of the competition, right? Because the competition's never going to be at that same level. Like if the competition is a franchise, they're never going to care as much about the coaching and the client experience as you are. They're never going to have the same level of retention that you have the possibility of having. But if the gap right now, you're a C or a C minus in business and you need to get to a B or a B plus in business, that's your opportunity. Not saying, how do I go from an A minus as a coach to an A or an A plus? The opportunity is to stack these two strengths or skills together and then watch how you leapfrog the competition. I know for me, that's certainly been something that we have focused on for many, many years. Even before I read the book, I think that we did it without even knowing what we were doing. But when I read about that, I'm like, man, this makes so much sense. And I can kind of reverse engineer a lot of the wins that I've been able to have. And I think the same thing applies to you. Try to become a plus in two different things, right? Two different things that complement one another. In your case, coaching and business. You become a plus in both, and before long, you're probably going to have the best training business in your respective market. So that's it. That's how you stack to win.